are back on Lily Sin Barreras. Bienvenidos de nuevo a Lily Sin Barreras. Today, I'm extremely touched. I have a great honor to speak to a woman who is brave enough to invite us through writing a book, her journey of love. All of us recognize love differently. All of us talk about love differently. We feel it differently. But how brave it is to recognize it, to own it, to share it, and to miss it when it's gone. If you are telling your little boys and little girls about how love comes, what package, what color, Diane Santos, the author of this book we're going to talk about today, will challenge some of that for you. It definitely did it for me. So help me welcome a kind, generous soul that decided she was going to share her journey with us on her book, Onward Into the Light. It is nothing like you've read before, and I read a lot. Diane, welcome.
Thank you so much, Lily. Thank you.
It's great to have you here and to have you in a good place.
Yes.
This book, I ate it. You heard that term before where you're like...
I haven't quite heard it put that way.
I literally, it was like food for the soul.
Oh, wow.
So I did not want to be interrupted.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of times I got up to have my tea, and I was even annoyed by that. The journey that you share with us in this book, let's talk about, when does this begin for you? When do you decide that you need to bring the pen to the paper?
Well, for me, it started on Facebook. I started after my soulmate passed away. I started to post my thoughts on Facebook just as a way of helping myself. I started to write messages and tag his name because he had a Facebook page, and I thought that if I put the words out into the universe, he would hear them somehow. And so that was my thoughts behind it. And it was helping me, just whatever I was feeling in any given moment, to write it on Facebook and just put it out there. And people started to say, Diane, you should write a book. You know, you could help other people who are grieving. And at first I thought, no, I can't write a book. I've never in my life even considered writing anything. You know, I love to read since I was a little girl, but I had never thought about formally writing anything. And they kept saying it and saying it and saying it. And finally, I decided that maybe I am supposed to. Well, let me sit down and just try to write something and see, you know. So I went and I printed out all my posts from when I first started posting after he died, and I ended up with a stack of papers this thick. And that became an outline for me, which later turned into the book. And I realized that I think I've been writing a book all along, just in my posts on Facebook and not even realizing it. So that's how it came about, just through social media.
That's one of the things we can thank social media for.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever heard anybody say this was part of my journey.
Right.
Putting it out to the universe. I'm so thankful to all of those people who told you you need to write a book.
So am I. So am I.
Onward Into the Light. Tell us a little bit, Michael,
Mm-hmm.
when, as I believe, into a higher heaven,
Right.
he was called. You called him?
I called him Baby. I only called him Baby. But his family called him Tiger. It was a nickname from when he was a little boy.
With a Y?
With a Y, yes. Funny story about that. I ordered him a birthday cake one year, and I told him to put Tiger, T-Y-G-E-R. And when I went to pick up the cake, the girl was so nervous because she thought they had misspelled it. And I said, no, it's with a Y. So, yes, most people called him Tiger. Some people called him Big Mike. My kids called him Mike. Didn't matter, like I say. I only ever called him Baby. So, but I would say he was most well known as Tiger for his lifetime.
I asked if we can call him Tiger because I thought it was so telling of the way I understood the book. So I want to go through the book with you a little bit. And
yes.
So you at home know why this is now going to become one of the books I'm definitely going to recommend. If you have lost something, someone, yourself, this is a book to read. You are so candid in this book, so transparent, that it's almost like you invite us into your pain, into your living room, I'm watching TV with you and crying in this book. That's how often I've gone back to read some of the chapters.
Yes.
I could see you laying in bed, smelling his T-shirts. I can see you walking to the cemetery to be in the presence of something that reminds you of how big he was to you. And so he was physically.
He was physically very large in size. He was 6'5", 400 pounds. So he was, you know, he could be intimidating to some
so
people.
Tiger was appropriate.
Yeah, it was appropriate. Yeah, he was a big guy. But, you know, for such a big physical appearance, he had such a heart of gold. You know, he really did. Not to say that he couldn't be provoked and he couldn't get mad and you didn't want to make him angry. But he just was a gentle, generous, loving soul. I don't know how else to put it. I just have never in my life encountered anyone like him.
It sounds like from what he says about you and your journey with him that he felt the same way.
I believe he did, yeah. I believe he did.
What I found very interesting about this is how you bare your soul, how you admit how difficult this is. So if it's not too painful, I'd like to go through some of that.
Not at all, please.
As I mentioned to you off camera, I like to write in my books, so I don't like to give
okay.
them. So don't ask me for my own book. I have a couple I'm going to give away, but I'm not going to give you mine.
Thank you for allowing me to sign your copy of the book. That's it.
This I want.
It's the only hands that are going to touch it.
This I want. So you dedicate this book to your journey, but also to your love.
Yes.
You did not have, according to your book and what I read, correct me at any time, a traditional relationship with Tiger.
No, not really. I mean, it was funny how it started. We started as co-workers, kind of. We didn't exactly work in the exact same area, but we worked in the same place at the Foxwoods Casino. And it started as a friendship. It really did. It was like a little flirtatious thing on his end to me, which I kind of blew off as, yeah, whatever, you know. Thought he was a nice guy. Thought he was very funny. He always made me laugh, you know. And over time, it just evolved into more. It wasn't, at least on my part, it wasn't premeditated or anything like that. I later found out that he had been interested in me for quite some time before he actually, you know, spoke up about it. But
well,
yeah.
Tiger had a very long time before he decided to go and say to Diane, we need to go out.
Yeah, according to him, it was about 10 years. He said, in his words, I've had my eye on you for 10 years. And I was like, really?
Wow.
Because I was oblivious to the whole thing.
And he would watch you across the street?
Yes, yeah. When we worked at the casino, I would take a shortcut and go outside across the street. And he said, so many times I would watch you just walk across and just think, wow, if that were ever my girl, you know. And I had no idea. I really didn't. So it was beautiful to hear him say that, you know, after the fact, once we did become close. But I was like, wow, you know, you just never know what another person is thinking. You really don't. So
you guys fall in love. You live in different homes.
Yes.
You, by choice.
By choice, yes.
He tells you that not looking really for a relationship. But very quickly, he falls in love.
He does, yeah.
He falls in love, and you don't stop it, and you fall in love.
Absolutely. It was impossible not to, because he's very charismatic, very charismatic. But he was just so giving of himself. And, you know, to watch him, I talk a lot about my granddaughter, I'm sure you'll mention, but to watch him with this little person, you know, and how trusting she was.
I love the dinosaur story.
Yeah. Oh, that was great. How trusting she was of him. You know, kids,
they're transparent.
They are great judges of character. Yeah. You know, if someone is bad, they know it like that, whereas an adult maybe could be fooled initially, not a kid. And it's the same when someone is good. They pick up on it right away. And she was just drawn to him. I mean, you know, he's been gone 3 years, and she still speaks about him. You know, she'll never forget him. So
3 years.
Yeah, 3 years.
That's not a long time.
No, no, it isn't.
And you were able to write this book.
Yes.
I can only honor and fear your pain. Is that fair?
Yeah, it is. I understand. Yeah,
I can't fathom what you've gone through. I'm honored that you're here. There is things that you write in here. I mean, I was with you the entire time. And when I thought of buying your book, I thought, okay, here's someone who's been through something really traumatic and they wrote a book. I found this to be a lot more than that.
I've heard that said by other people too, yeah.
I found this to be a capsule that everybody needs to go into to heal, regardless. So you had been married prior.
Twice, yeah.
Right. And Tiger had had his relationships prior to that. So he, in the book, you clearly describe, he had everything strategically planned, less drama, the best. Here's how far I will go, here are my boundaries and whatever.
Yes.
And then he falling out of all of that he set up. However, you were so kind and generous not to remind him of any of that.
No, I mean jokingly, you know, because he used to call it his rule book on
thought
how
that was
his
funny.
relationships, you know. And he says, geez, with you, it's like page after page. I just keep ripping out of the rule book. I got this one page left. He'd say, I'm holding on to it. I said, I'll just toss it. You know, forget it. It's done. But yes, he did live his life by design, is what he always told me. Anything that caused him stress had to go. He didn't do it. He didn't deal with it. And the boundaries he set initially, little by little, he stepped outside of those boundaries on his own. And our relationship just turned into something beautiful. It really did.
So as a woman, we have been told, taught, invited to look at romance, love, interaction between two people, regardless is a man or woman or same gender relationship, with these expectations, right?
Sure.
Are we in? Are we out? How do we define it? You guys did none of that.
We did none of that. We just took it moment by moment, day by day, and we enjoyed each other. We enjoyed each other.
As you described it, I thought, these are two kids eating ice cream.
Yes, that's a good analogy. Yeah.
Two kids eating ice cream. They're sitting out there at the park going, this is delicious. Let's, you know, and there's more in the fridge, so we'll come back for more.
Exactly.
Your love was absolutely delicious, is how I see it in the book.
That's a beautiful way of putting it.
Wow. So there is many things that you talk about, but there are parts of this book that just drove me to, as you can see, I wrote, wow, and if I could.
Yes,
and if
sure.
you allow me. Yet, when he spoke, there was something that let you know right away, this was a good guy.
Yes. Wow. Genuine, very genuine. He didn't sugarcoat anything. He gave it to you straight, but it was always with a wisdom. You know, it was never that he was just saying something he read in the paper or heard about. He spoke from experience, you know, and you got the feeling that he really did care. What you did with the information was on you, but he was definitely a straight shooter, I guess you would say. Yeah.
So there are parts of the book that all I could see is this absolute romantic guy that you kind of like, we're with you, you know, we're like, oh my goodness gracious,
we
get it, oh my God. And I am blessed to go weak on the knees for my husband, so I'm very blessed.
Beautiful.
But I was with you. I was like, oh boy, poor Diane, of course she didn't have a chance.
She didn't have a chance.
She didn't have a choice either. And the people who were attracted to him as a person, holistically, you make it very clear. They were old, they were young, they were females, they were black, they were Latinos, they were from all walks of life.
All walks of life, yeah.
So he in himself was a presence of his own.
And I go back to his charisma. He just drew people in. He really did. People wanted to be where he was. They wanted to hear what he had to say, and it was beautiful to witness. I can't even tell you the different, you know, like you mentioned, different races, different genders, different age groups. It didn't matter. They were just as comfortable with him.
So he would say the plain truth without any bull.
Always.
Wow.
Always.
So he was definitely a take it or leave it kind of guy.
He was. And he had no problem telling you to lose his number. You know, he was just like, this is how it is, and, you know, he didn't do drama. He really didn't, so.
And you were not drama-driven either?
No, not at all, not at all. And especially even more so now, you know, since his passing, since I've gone through this traumatic experience, I don't allow drama in my life at all. No.
I'm going to give you an opportunity because I know our audience is like hungry at this point to find out what happened. What happened to Tiger?
Right.
So you write in your book, this is page 18, so when you buy the book, because I know you're going to buy the book, page 18, there was an expression he used often. This is you. Mm-hmm. If the truth hurts, say ouch.
Right, and that meant he was going to give you the truth.
So for all of you who are at home, if the truth hurts, say ouch.
Yeah, that was him. He was going to give it to you, yeah. You didn't hold anything back. And most people appreciated that. They appreciated that about him. Didn't hold it against him.
I love that.
Yeah.
I just love that. Say ouch. Yeah.
Because here it comes.
He's coming. He's coming. So let's talk a little bit about, if we can. Mm-hmm. You guys are eating this delicious ice cream called love.
Yes.
You fall in love, you live in two different places, mm-hmm. You guys are okay with that, you spend quality time, you're a mother, you're totally involved with your family, his family comes along as well, he's invited into yours, accepted, you blend.
Yes.
Okay, you have a granddaughter who becomes very vital to mm-hmm. this journey.
Yes, she does.
She becomes like the print, mm-hmm. if you ask me, that God put in for both of you.
Right.
Like, so to hear Tiger say, oh, she has me wrapped up in her finger was delightful.
Yeah.
Because here's this big guy going, oh, man.
Yeah, and she did.
I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm 100% in. I don't even know how I got here. I don't know how to get out.
Right.
And I'm not sure he wanted to either.
Oh, no, he did not. No, she was his little baby, he used to call her. That's my little baby. Yeah.
So you fall in love. You're having the best love you've ever had in mm-hmm. your entire life. He is having the best love he's had in his entire life. Then his heart says, I had enough.
Yes.
You describe step by step mm-hmm. what happened.
Yes.
I was pained how you describe it. Mm. So do you want to tell?
Yes. Okay. It was his birthday, his 57th birthday, and we had had a wonderful day celebrating. I made lasagna for him for dinner. That was his choice, what he wanted. And we ate at my house, and he said he had a few things to do, and he says, well, why don't you come by a little later, bring the rest of the lasagna, because he needed leftovers, and I had a little cake for him. And so I went by maybe about 8:30 or so. I went to his place, and we were watching TV, which was our normal thing. We would watch, what is it, the Nick at Night shows.
Oh, yeah, the reruns. Yeah, I love the reruns, yeah.
We'd watch Andy Griffith, and so we're watching King of Queens, used to come on at 9 o'clock. So I knew it was 9 o'clock by that. And all of a sudden he says, oh, I'm having trouble breathing. So he said, let me sit up. And to back up, he had been diagnosed with congestive heart failure about 9-10 months before he passed away, and he was managing it well, so we thought he was doing what the doctor, advised. And that night he started to have trouble breathing, so he sat up, and then he went out on the porch, and I stuck my head out and I said, do you want to go to the emergency room? And he said, no! And it startled me, because he never raised his voice to me, ever. Even the few little minor disagreements, he's never raised his voice. So I stepped back and I said, oh, Diane, don't aggravate the situation. He already doesn't feel good. So a few seconds later, I heard a loud bang, and I looked out again. No, I'm sorry. I peeked out again, and he had begun getting physically ill. And he managed to say, call 911. So I ran to get my phone, and when I came back out, he had fallen on the porch.
Prior to that, he's trying to control the vomit that's coming out.
He's trying to control the vomit. He's trying to gasp for air, and I'm frantically dialing the phone. And so when I got the dispatcher, you know, she was I'm screaming, you know, that he's fallen and everything. And so she told me how to do chest compressions. And I just straddled across his chest, and you know, he's a big guy, and with all my weight, I did what she told me, and I did the compressions, and I kept doing it, and asking her, you know, what do I do, what do I do? And she says, just count out loud, and I kept counting, and then the ambulance came, and they worked on him, and they transported him to the hospital, and the family came up, and unfortunately, the doctor came out and said that Michael hadn't made it, and that was not anything I ever expected to hear, believe me. It was just, I probably could do a better job. I did a better job of describing it in the book. But
you do.
In that instant, my life, it was like when you turn the light switch. 1 minute the lights are on and you turn it and the lights go off. It was like someone turned the switch off on my life, and I just didn't know what to do.
You are so painfully truthful about when the doctor, and this is how I'm telling you how I read the book, the doctor comes in, and here's one of my fears, right? So I'm reading your book, and you know how you're reading something, you go, uh-oh, this is going to take a bad turn. Yeah. And the doctor says, is everybody here family?
Right.
And I'm thinking, she's not married to him, because this is the advocate in me, she's not married to him, does he have a living will? I mean, is she like, I have a mess in my head.
Yes.
Because I fear what's going to happen for you. And you walk in with the family. They had no concerns about, this is my head going, they're going to leave her out.
And it could very easily have gone that way, and it does, as you probably know, it does happen, but I've been blessed that his family, the Johnson family, have included me in everything.
They didn't blink, according to us.
No, there was no hesitation, there was no, well, let's talk about it. What are we going to do with her? No. And I mean that across the board. His brothers, his sisters, his nieces, nephews, his dad, extended family, everyone. I can't, you know, it's been phenomenal, and it's really helped my healing to be included, you know, in his family and the arrangements and everything. So I can't say enough about them. I love them. They're my family. And to this day, you know, we call each other, text each other, check on each other. So, yeah.
If you're just joining us, we're speaking to Diane Santos, the author of one of my favorite books now, Onward Into the Light, and we're describing what we have been able to read, at least for me, in her book of healing and losing her loved one, the love of her life, because it seems like Tiger was the love of your life.
He was like nothing I'd ever known, yeah.
So you are in the emergency room. I no longer have this panic attack because, you know, I have this panic attack about they're going to leave her out. No, literally, this is what I'm having in my sofa. As I'm reading, oh my God, please don't let her, please don't forget her.
Yeah.
And because your love is so beautiful and so delicious and so intense, I could not even imagine. And so this family is so beautiful, and you are included as you should. And you hear the words, he didn't make it.
It was, like I say, a light switch got turned off in my life, like being punched in the stomach, the wind knocked out of you, your mind is racing, you're trying to process, you know, because we had just been.
This is his birthday.
It's his birthday. We had a beautiful day. We had just been watching TV, laughing. You know, our normal routine. Think of what you do in your normal routine, you know? And it was just a normal day. And what is this doctor saying, you know? It was very hard for my brain. You know, externally, I started to cry. My cousin was there, my best friend.
Was that Angie?
Angie, yes.
Okay, see?
Yeah, you know, we're first cousins, but we're best friends. We're 7 months apart. She's 7 months younger than me, but from babies. Our dads were brothers, and my family's very close-knit that way. And we've been best friends. So she was there with me, and I collapsed in her arms, and I was crying. But even as I was behaving externally as though I were aware that, you know, he had died, my brain couldn't put it together. I could not put it together. There was no way that this was real, you know.
And so you describe very clearly that your intellect heard what the doctor, he or she, said.
Yes.
But your emotions were so not there.
Not
you were
there.
like, okay,
Someone has to go wake him up because this, you know, this can't be happening. What am I supposed to do? This is my life. You know, and I know I'm a mother and a grandmother, but in this context right here, he is my world. He is my everyday routine. You know, he is the first call I make in the morning. He is the one when I pick up my phone, there's always a text that he texts me over the, you know, the middle of the night. If he got up to use the bathroom, he would shoot me a little text that I would find in the morning. And so what do I do now?
Your love, as you describe it in here, makes you dream for every little girl and every little boy to feel that way.
Yeah.
You're getting texts, you expect it in the morning, you're sharing with one another every little thing that happens.
Every silly little thing.
A quick thing that happens,
yeah.
A date, a time, a place. You look forward. Your phone and you become buddies.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
You would go nowhere in the house without the phone.
I would not. Absolutely not. If I went in the kitchen and realized I left it in the living room, I'd go back and get it because I didn't want to miss.
That's delicious love.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it wasn't a controlling type thing. Like we had to keep. It wasn't anything like that. It was just whenever we thought of one another, that's what we did. So.
You make it clear that you were two different people personality-wise.
Yes.
You're shy, naive, well-read, probably hides in books type of thing. Don't want to, you know, muddy the waters, don't want to cause any type of ripples or whatever.
Right.
And he was all the opposite.
Yeah, he was the more outgoing. I mean, he had his quiet ways, but we had very different pasts. You know, he had, during his teen years and you know, formative years, gotten himself into some trouble. He had served some time in prison.
Right.
And
he was transparent and very honest.
And he was very honest about it. He didn't hide it. You know, he learned a lot in those years, you know, and he shared that knowledge willingly with other people. And so here I was, the little shy, good girl, I call myself. I labeled myself as having a good girl complex, never want to do the wrong thing, never want to get my parents upset. Not that I didn't have some tumultuous years as a teenager, but for the most part, that's how I lived my life. Always good in school.
Well, you have a glow, too.
Yeah, I just,
you have a glow,
you know, didn't ever want to get the teachers upset. You know, that's why I call it a good girl complex. And so people, he had a reputation of larger than life. You know, here's this Tiger Johnson, this big tough guy, you know. And so we always thought that people probably couldn't understand how he and I ever came to be together, you know.
It sounds like you had no trouble with it, but every once in a while he would dip in there and go, wow, I can't believe I have this woman.
Yeah, he did express some disbelief, you know. It took him a long time to accept that I really did love him, because he would say, how can someone like you love someone like me? And I'd say, what do you mean?
That's
I love you.
Why it's so delicious.
I love you. You know, who cares about, you know, everybody has a past. Everybody has a past.
So I'm eating up this book.
Including me.
Thank God, right? Because that means we don't grow up.
This is true.
That's one of the things I like about being an adult. I could set boundaries. I can, you know, no longer have to take people yelling at me or any of that. I don't like it.
You
Stop
don't like
it.
it. Stop it.
So there's taking it to the fun part of your relationship. So you guys go to Denny's, and you're cute as Dolly, and it's a summer day, and you go to Denny's, you have this beautiful breakfast or lunch or whatever it is, your meal, and there's some gentlemen there, they're clearly worked in construction, and well, they see the beauty, but they see Tiger. So they're not going to turn around and look at Tiger's woman.
No.
But they know how beautiful she is. And he says to you,
yeah, we get outside to the car, and he says, boy, you know, those guys really wanted to turn around and look at you after you walk by. He's like, go back in, pretend you forgot something. I feel bad. Let them have their look, you know, because they weren't going to do it with him walking behind. I said, are you crazy? I'm not going back in there so those men can look. But that was just his way, you know.
He
said he felt so bad because, you know, he knew that they wanted, because, you know, men, you know. And I said, no
I'm
way.
a lucky dog.
Yes,
let those buddies.
He said, I'll stay out here. You just go back. Oh, that was his personality, definitely.
He had an art for decorating.
Oh, yes, he did.
And you seemed to love decorating as well.
Yes.
You describe in your book. And although this is so painful, I think that what makes your book so magical is that you're able to explain why it's so painful.
Mm-hmm.
Because you had this absolutely delicious relationship that
Yes.
one can only want, desire, and wish on all living on this earth. So it's very important to know how beautiful your relationship was to you and him,
Yes.
and how well you both protected it.
Mm-hmm.
So I love the examples of him meeting you at the gas station, meet me at the gas station,
Yep.
filling up your tank, doing it for your son.
For my son as
You're
well.
saying you don't have to do this.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't have to, I want to.
I want to.
I want to is so beautiful, because
Yeah.
that's a gift.
That is a gift. I mean, I'd never experienced anything like that. I mean, how many people probably have, you know? And those were the types of things that it was just, you know, I felt like, I said to someone, I feel like my feet never quite touch the ground. He's got me floating constantly, you know, just a few inches above the ground, because this is like a fairy tale. You know, I mean, I've had other relationships. No one's ever said, meet me at the gas station, I'm going to fill up your tank. And it was very quick, because sometimes I would, you know, I'd sit in the car and he'd be pumping the gas, and I'd start talking about something. As soon as he was done pumping the gas, okay, up, I got to go. Give me a quick kiss, and it'd be like, I've been dismissed, you know. He was busy, always busy. But yeah, it was just those little quick things that a lot of people would not even think to make time for, that really, they touch you in a place that I can't even describe.
He was very cautious, whatever was going on in new venues and whatever he was doing, new art, and to ensure that your time with him, and you did the same, was honored, respected, and not to be negotiable. It was non-negotiable, as Lisa Nichols would say.
Yes.
What is the non-negotiable?
Non-negotiable.
Your time together was non-negotiable.
It was. It was very important that we both have that. And, you know, you mentioned that we didn't live together, and we didn't want to live together. We were happy with, we're both very independent by nature, and so we enjoyed our time when we were alone, and we enjoyed our time together. And it just, and it's funny because in other relationships, I was always the one that wanted to live together. We have to live together. We have to live.
Yeah, because we have all these, you know, all these ideas,
those
about
preconceived notions of what it's supposed to be like. And with him, there was no need of it. There was no need of it. We had balance, and it worked for both of us. So.
And it seemed like it was important to you and to him.
To both of us, yes, it was, yeah.
So before we get into the heart-wrenching pain, I'd like to make justice to your love, if I may.
Oh, sure.
So he had an art for decorating. He wanted you to be involved in everything, but he had this very nonchalant way of telling you how, you know, I want to decorate it. So you're the girl. You go ahead and do that, honey. But at the same time, he was fully involved in everything. He bought a new bedroom set. He surprised you with that. So he made his home your home.
He did. He did do that. It's funny, I talk about the picture that he was always asking me for a picture of myself. And
he blew up the picture.
Yeah,
I love that.
And he was asking me early in the, you know, and I said, no, what do you need a picture of me for? And he says, I'm going to blow it up, and I'm going to hang it on my wall so I can just look at your beauty. I'm going to blow it up like a poster. And I says, yeah, right. And when I finally did give him a picture, that's exactly what he did. He took it to Walmart to the photo studio, and he had them blow it up to a poster size and frame it, and he hung it on the wall. And I said, this is amazing. Who does this?
And then asked you to go back to the Walmart because the woman probably wanted an update because she was so excited about it.
She was so excited that he was doing this, and she made him promise to come back and tell her what my reaction had been. So he said, she might recognize you, you know, if you go by the photo section. Like, oh my goodness.
So I think there's a couple of sponsors that should be in here because you mentioned Denny's, Victoria's Secret.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Walmart.
So I think you guys should be putting her book all over the place because she put you guys in here.
They're in there.
She's too gentle to say that, but check.
Thank you, Lily.
Okay. So he was, as you're telling him about all these things, about decorating and whatever, he says, are you saying I'm gay?
Yes, he did. I said when I first went to his apartment, I said, there's no way you did this. You had a woman come in here. Because you have to go back to his size, 6'5", 400 pounds, this massive guy. He
This
looks
tiger.
like he should be on a football field,
Right.
you know? And has this beautifully decorated apartment that was like right in line with my taste. And I said, there's no way. It doesn't match.
What's her name?
Yeah, who is this one? This is all me. He says, wait, are you saying I'm gay? I said, no, I'm just saying that you really are a good decorator, you know? And so that became like a source of competition between him and I, because I take pride in decorating too, so.
That's fascinating, and it's a stereotype. I live in the gay community. I'm part of the gay community. I celebrate our brothers and sisters, and they would tell you that is a stereotype.
That's a stereotype. Yes, it is. But it was just
not everybody is born with that talent.
It just gives
so I thought
you
it was
a glimpse
hilarious
into his sense of humor, you know. Yeah.
So you mentioned how talented he is, how thoughtful he is, how generous he is.
Very giving. Yeah.
You're not very. You're not taking much credit for what made him so generous. I think, Tiger, I'm sure you're watching over Diane, he would probably have a lot to say about why he was that way with you.
He probably would.
Right?
Yeah, he did. He called me his cherry on top.
That's why I thought of ice cream.
Yeah.
What do you put a cherry on top? So
Yeah.
logical for me was ice cream.
That's what he used to call me, because he said as I say, he lived his life by design, and he had what he wanted. He was happy with what he had. He had a nice place. He had the cars he wanted to drive. And he said, but there was one piece missing. And he said, I needed a cherry on top, and that's what you are to me. And he treated me as such, you know, just.
Some people would say you complete me.
Yes.
The Tiger would say, you're the cherry
You're
on
the
top.
cherry on
So
top.
this man had his own book.
Oh, yes.
How he talked, how he walked, and how he designed everything.
Yes, he did.
So painfully, in order for us to honor your journey, we have to talk about how difficult, and this was heart-wrenching for me.
Yeah.
So I was home, no makeup, thank God, and I'm crying at the way you are devastated because your love has gone away and you're looking for answers.
Yes.
Is it okay to ask you about that pain?
Oh, absolutely. It was, again, you know, 1 minute he's here and the next minute he's not. And so trying to adjust to day-to-day life now without him, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where I fit in. I tried to keep up appearances. You know, I go to the grocery store and do little things, and I'd be in the middle of the store and I would just say, what am I doing here? You know, and I'd look at the other people and say, why aren't they hurting? Don't they know he's
Tiger's
not here?
gone.
Don't they know? Doesn't it impact them somehow? And as I sit here now, I know that's irrational, but when you're in that grief, that deep, heartbreaking grief, you don't understand how other people are able to just go about their day-to-day activities when your whole world is stopped moving, you know. And I distinctly remember one day I was at the kitchen sink and I was washing dishes, and all of a sudden I couldn't breathe. You know, I was having an anxiety attack, and I think I was in my mind thinking about maybe us going to the movies or things we had done, and it hit me that that was not ever going to happen again. And I had to go and sit down. It was awful. I could not get my breath. My chest just tightened up. And just to come to the realization of how many things I would never experience again was probably the most difficult part of the whole thing, was dealing with that. So took me to some very dark places, to where I started to pray and ask God to please end my life, because I didn't know how to cope.
And it wasn't suicide. You were
Never.
asking, and this was so important. We were talking off camera.
Yeah.
You wanted to be with him.
I wanted to be with him. I didn't want thoughts of a long life.
How long were you together?
We, believe it or not, about 3.5 years, which many people would say, oh, you know, that wasn't very long.
What does that have to do with anything?
It's not the length of time, it's what you do with it. That makes all the difference. You know, you could have, there are people that have probably been together 30 years that
and
never.
they don't really like each other.
Yes, and that didn't reach that level.
I know some of those.
of intimacy, that connection that he and I had.
That's why it's
know.
delicious. I can't think of another word
And
but
I
delicious.
love that. I love that. That's going to go in my third book.
Good. Because it's delicious how you love each other. But when we're talking about raw pain, and you did such a great job, and I am someone who's experienced
Yes.
the act of suicide in my body. So I knew that when you were talking about, let me get closer to my final days, you were so hungry to meet again.
Yes. That's what I wanted.
So it was not you wanted to terminate your life. You were asking the Maker,
Yes.
who gave it to you, to turn off the lights and take you wherever Tiger
To
was.
take
I was
me,
going to
yeah.
say Michael because that's his
Yeah.
his birth name, right?
His names are interchangeable, but yeah, that's what it was. It was never about suicide, you know, and I'm very careful to say that when I speak publicly and things about my journey, that I never once contemplated that. I never thought about hurting myself or anything. I just kept asking God, please, I can't be here like this.
And I'm not judging you
Yeah.
as someone who's lived
Oh, sure.
that desire to
Yeah.
terminate their life. I just find it incredible that you were able in your book to articulate so people understand
Yeah.
the desire of wanting to go and be with your loved one does not necessarily mean that you want to terminate your life. It's that the pain is so
The pain was-
large. When you talk about pain here, my chest was heavy.
Yeah.
I was like, oh God, give her a break.
Yeah.
Please send her somebody, something. So there is a lot of things that people can learn from your book, from your pain. And it's the amount of pain and journey and patience and how we sometimes want to say the right thing and we're just making it worse.
Yeah, and that's something I discuss too. Is people don't know what to say.
No.
They really don't. You know, and me myself, I have a humongous family. My mom was one of 12. My dad was one of 10. Excuse me, children. So you can imagine aunts, uncles, cousins. So they all rallied around me, but they don't know what to say. They want to comfort you.
Yes.
And the same with friends. They want to comfort
This
you. But
too shall pass
yes.
was one of my favorites.
yes.
If it's going to pass, when?
When?
Somebody tell me
Can you
when.
give me a date? So for me, the most difficult thing to hear was, I know how you feel.
Okay, that's an ouch.
Yeah, that was
That's an ouch.
that was an ouch for me, because instantly I was angry. You know, I didn't
You don't know
verbalize
how
it.
I feel.
I didn't verbalize it to them, but it gave me that feeling in my stomach of, how dare you?
You're better than I am. I probably would have said something
Yeah,
like,
you don't know how I feel. And it's something people say because they don't know what to say. And every loss is different.
absolutely.
Every single person on this planet grieves in their own way.
And I want to get to that.
Yeah.
You have had, you're an only child.
Only child, yeah.
Tiger is not an only child.
One of 9.
So talk about different. You
Yeah.
know, my husband is an only child, so I tease
Oh.
him all the time. Oh, you're having the only child syndrome. He's like, yes, I'm an only
Spoiled.
child. No, he wasn't spoiled. However, I tell him, you don't like anybody to play with your toys. You know, he's an electronic kind of guy. But that's my Luis, and I'll
Yes.
keep him. But in your book, you talk about, and I thought this was so brave. You say, I've lost, I'm paraphrasing, so I apologize.
No, it's okay.
I've lost my mother. Later on, you lost your father to that evil cancer thing,
Yes.
which is evil. And you survived that, and you miss them daily, and the pain was pain, but Tiger was different.
It was a different relationship, and I explain it in the book, and it's not to take away from
Absolutely
anyone
not.
else. You know, like I say, we all grieve in our own way, but I think that somewhere in our genetic makeup, from evolution or however you believe, we've kind of been conditioned to expect that at some
Our parents
point
will go
our
first.
parents will go first, right? And which is probably why people who lose children, it's so unnatural.
Yeah,
you
none of
know?
us want to be at
None
the
of us
funeral of our
ever,
children. No.
ever, no. But with him, it was like, you know, he was my everyday. This wasn't supposed to happen, you know? Not that I missed my parents any less, not that I didn't grieve, you know, when they passed away. Of course I did, and I still miss them. But this was just different. And I recently was speaking with a friend, and he put it such a beautiful way, and I hope I don't mess this up. And he said that when we lose a child, we're losing our past. I'm sorry, our future. We're losing our future. We're missing out on graduations, weddings, and things of that nature. When we lose our parents, we're losing our past, our upbringing, you know, memories of childhood and things. But when we lose a mate, we're losing our present. And so that's the difference between the three. And I thought,
That's
wow,
beautiful.
that is a beautiful way. And it's true. It's absolutely true.
That is beautiful.
You know? And I had never heard it put quite that way before, but I could really relate to that. You know?
Oh, please write that in your next book,
I'll
because I
have
think
to.
that would be so healing.
Yeah.
That people are able to help us as human beings, because we need one another.
We do need one
to
another.
heal.
Yes.
Now, there is a lot of pain in your book, and for those who don't know what pain looks like, God bless you. For those of us who have had to live through pain, there is so many things you describe in this book, and you articulate these emotions so well. I'm like, okay, God was writing for her, because it's just...
I agree, because I am no professional writer, but it was writing from the heart.
I'm sorry, there's nobody who's going to believe that after this book. I'm going to honor what you just said, but I have a hard time as I, you know, ate this book.
Yes.
Like, you know, so you can imagine me page by page. But the way that you're able to say, you're longing, you're empty inside. You're looking for something. So you go to the bookstore, and I thought, I've done that.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm walking with you, not knowing your pain, none of that.
Sure.
And this is a horrible comparison. There are commercials where, you know, these bad things follow you around, you know, these diseases and don't let you be. So I felt like I was your disease right behind you going, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
And so you were looking for books, because obviously your outlet, my outlet, right?
Yes,
that we have to learn. Maybe somebody has the answer. Magical pill, right? Somebody has to be wise enough to let me know what's going on.
Somebody can fix this, yeah.
So there's all this stuff we've learned about how one grieves, right? And I'm sorry if I'm sarcastic, but I hate when they box people.
Yeah.
So you're on stage 1, and you're on stage 2.
Right.
And this is going to happen. So you read all these books, and you're going, no.
I did buy a book on the grief process and the stages, as you mentioned, and I can't list them because it meant nothing to me. And I could not relate. It made me feel, if anything, pushed towards something I wasn't ready for.
And that's what I thought was magical.
Yeah. And I couldn't relate to anything, and I said, no way. And I'm one of these types of people, well, you started the book, you have to finish it.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, this one,
no.
It didn't do anything for me. I couldn't relate. It was making me worse. It wasn't helping me. And so I said, no.
Did you find yourself judging yourself, going, why am I not at that step?
Yeah, you know, I don't know that I judged myself. I just really, it was like a turn-off completely, because it did nothing for, it didn't resonate with me.
You're not in my shoes. Don't tell me how my shoes fit.
Yeah, it just, you know, it made me, like I say, feel pushed, or they were telling me how I was supposed to feel, but I couldn't relate to it. So that definitely wasn't the way to go for me.
So it was an ouch.
That was an ouch. Yes.
That was definitely
I love how you're coining his phrases. I
Oh
love
my God.
that.
I'm telling you, this was like delicious. The book, the entire thing is like incredible. So you go through these books and you realize, okay, maybe this is not the right thing for me, whatever, and you go to another section of the books.
Yes, I ended up reading books on people that had had near-death experiences. And because for me, I wanted to know what it was like for him. And now, you know, everyone out there, anyone watching this show, we all have different beliefs on what happens when we die. And so I state clearly in the book, I am not writing my views as a way of converting anyone, but for me, I believed that there was more. And so I needed to know that he was okay. You know, I already knew I was miserable. I didn't need to know any more about me, any more about my grief, none of that. So I started reading books about near-death experiences, and every one of them.
I want to stop you right there, if I may.
Sure.
There's something you say in your book that I immediately cried. You said, I wonder how he's doing because they put him in the ground and he hates bugs.
He hated bugs, and that bothered me. Yeah.
That broke my heart. I was thinking, oh my God.
That very much bothered me at the funeral when, you know, they don't lower the casket until everyone leaves. But I was just devastated that
He doesn't like
he
bugs.
hates bugs. How can they put him
in the ground.
In the ground. That was very difficult for me to deal with. Yeah.
That was a pause for me. I'm like, oh no.
Right.
She's revisiting this
Yeah.
instantly. It's like revising everything.
Mm-hmm.
So you end up looking for people who have experiences.
Yes, and I wanted to know what it was like after this life, and
But you're concerned about him.
because of him. Yes, exactly. I wanted to know, was he okay? What was it like?
How's my body doing?
How's he doing? You know, and they all described this beautiful scene, this beautiful place of love, of peace, of light, and it started to help me. It really did, because I started to envision him being in this beautiful place. And it did. I mean, I was still hurting. Don't get me wrong.
Oh no, you're clear about that.
I was still, dealing with my own issues, but it brought some peace just to feel like, that there was even the tiniest possibility that he could be living in this beautiful light, in this beautiful place. So it gave me a starting point to begin to heal. Yeah.
Your pain is so deep, and I'm telling you, I don't know how you have not written a book before, because I was in there with
First
you
one,
at all kinds of emotions.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot fathom the idea of losing Luis, my husband. I just cannot.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that I would be as brave as you were to allow yourself to feel the emotions.
Right.
There is so much of it that it was so raw,
Mm-hmm.
that you spend days and you're so clear about it, and I can relate to that. I'm not taking a shower. I have nothing to take a
No,
shower for.
there's no
I don't need to
reason.
wear any makeup.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Not even going to brush my hair. I don't care.
But you are in this very unique position. You have left your job, not because particularly this, but you were moving on to something.
Right.
So you had a little bit of room to be financially independent for a little bit.
For a little while, yes.
And I was thinking, as I'm reading the book, I'm thinking, wow, did the angels align her for this?
I've thought of that myself, actually, because,
Were they trying to set the stage?
It's like the stage was set. I do believe that.
To
That's
give
what
you the
happened.
space to, but your ability to describe pain hurt my body.
Oh.
That's somebody who can translate. You talk about the sobbing, the pain in your body, the not being able to get up, to being mad, and not anger mad. It was more like, I have to do this again.
Yeah.
I have to do this again. I have to muscle enough energy to look like I'm functional.
Yeah.
Is
To
that
look
right?
like I'm a functioning member of society.
Like I fit in some way.
Yeah.
But there's a part in there that you say that you almost feel like an alien.
I did. I was.
Didn't matter how many people were around.
No. I just felt like I didn't know where I fit in. And I can remember, because I was unemployed, I had to go to classes through Department of Labor. You have to go to get your unemployment, and you have to be actively looking for
workshops.
a job, and workshops, yes. And I was sitting through this workshop, and it was maybe weeks after he passed away. And rather than explain to them why I couldn't go, I just went. And I was sitting there, and I'm amazed. I'm like, how can these people be talking about this when he just died?
Don't they know Tiger's
It's so
gone?
hard, because our world has crumbled, to look at other people whose lives are not affected. It's hard for the brain to make sense of that.
Heart.
Yeah.
Which is even
and the heart.
worse.
Yeah, exactly. And I struggled with that, I'm like, I had all I could do this morning to brush my teeth to come here.
Yeah.
And these people are talking about resumes and job searches and career choices. I'm like, what?
I use a lot of humor to deal with my pain, but that's what I do.
Yeah,
And I've learned that that's what I do.
that's what you do.
But I could see myself ripping up some resumes and
Yeah.
going, we're not writing any resumes today.
We're not doing this today, okay? I have bigger
Shut off
issues.
the computer. Okay. Damn resume, are you crazy?
Yeah.
So I could see myself totally,
Right.
being walked out or
Yeah.
something like that. Because
You're excused.
I'm not the good girl. So I'd probably, I did juvenile and all that kind of stuff. So I'd probably be the girl being, I think you need a little bit more time. If I hear the word resume, I'm going to hurt somebody. So I think you were very kind, but feeling totally unaware of what tomorrow is bringing is our truth, But when it hits you on the daily basis that you are going to walk, and you describe it very clearly in your book, with this heaviness every day, somebody's going to make you, somebody as the pain is going to make you carry 300 blocks on your shoulders, in your head. There's a point you're not eating. There's a point that, you know, you play with food, so people will think that maybe you're eating.
Maybe I'm eating, yeah.
People are visiting you, but you had a ritual. You would go see Tiger.
I would go to the cemetery every evening, and I would have company sometimes, and they'd be talking. You know, they would come out of love to try to spend time with me so I wasn't alone. And they'd be talking, and my mind would be racing because I know the sun was setting soon.
Can you all go home?
And I have to get to the cemetery. And I remember distinctly one time just saying, I'm so sorry, but you're going to have to leave because I have to get to the cemetery. I had to get there every day. I had to sit there, and I had a little stool in my trunk of my car. And it was his, actually, a little tiny stool. And I would pull that out, and I would just sit by his stone. Well, he didn't have a stone yet, but just sit by his grave and talk to him. Or sometimes I wouldn't. Sometimes I would be quiet. Sometimes I would cry. Sometimes I wouldn't. But I had to connect. Sometimes I would go twice a day, but always at least once. And that went on for several months. Yeah. I had to do it.
We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to continue to speak to this brave soul. Her name is Diane Santos. I will share the book with you, and she's the author of Onward Into the Light. You need to pick up this book. Not for her, but for you. If you want a delicious story and a reason to continue living and appreciating your everyday. We'll be right back.
When you have a hole in your neck, don't face the shower head. Keep your stomach covered when you're outside. Be very careful shaving. Get used to eating only soft foods. Clean out your speech valve twice a day.
You can quit. For free help, visit cdc.gov/tips.
We're back. We're so grateful that you stay with us and you listen to the story of Diane Santos and her journey on letting go of her loved one, of her tiger. I think that's so incredible that they gave him this nickname. Onward Into the Light is the book. You will find it on my Facebook. You will find it on my website. You can call me. You can get it on Amazon.
On Amazon, yes.
She also has a link, and you can get her, and she also has a web page. But what we've decided, and you've honored my request, is for us to continue a conversation about love.
Yes.
I think this book is the beginning for Lily Sin Barreras to talk about love. You are definitely full of good aura. You are definitely a gift on earth.
Thank you.
We want to sponge all of that up.
That's okay. That's what I'm here for.
I want to invite you to do at least 6 weeks with us so we can talk
Absolutely.
about love, and people can have a little bit of interaction with you and leave
Yes.
their comments, and you can answer.
I would love that. I told, on my way here, I told God, let me be your instrument. Let me be your instrument to help other people, and that was the purpose in writing the book. So,
God bless you. I don't shake hands, I hug, but I can't get up and hug you right now. Diane Santos, pick up her book. Do it quickly. You will read a story that's going to tear you apart, make you happy, believe in love all over again. And I'm going to see you next week, and we're going to bring her back. God bless you. See you soon.